and welcome to another episode of the Influence and Growth Mastery podcast. Today, I have a very sweet friend with me, Ariane Olshansky from hugsxhoney. She's all about love, laughter, dance, singing, travel, and love's adventure. I have to tell you, she's just as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. And I want to welcome her to the podcast today and want her to share with you all about her business, hugsxhoney. You're going to be so inspired by her passion and her business. Ariane, I can't tell you how excited I am to have you here with me today for this interview. Share with us all about hugsxhoney. I love that business name.
Thank you. Tonya, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I feel honored to be invited onto your podcast. I think the world of you. And I love what you're doing, and I really appreciate being here today. So thank you so much.
Well, it's just as much as an honor. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's just as much an honor to have you here. Go ahead and share with us.
Thank you. So yes, my name is Ariane Olshansky, and I am the owner of hugsxhoney. Hugsxhoney, I'm a love, life, and leadership coach. So I help, I work with individuals, I work with children, I work with adults. I work with really anybody who needs clarity and, love in their lives, really. And love can come in so many different forms, right? So we have romantic love, and we have friendship love, we have parent-child love, and then we have love for ourselves. And so sometimes the lack of love for ourselves gets masked by fear and our goals and all these different things. And so sometimes it just takes a little nudge or a little awareness of someone to realize that a little bit of love for themselves, a little compassion, a little forgiveness is really all it takes to kind of get back on track and take away those blocks that are holding you back, so that you can really experience and live your fullest potential. And so I really am passionate about helping people, about lighting them up on the inside, lighting up their purpose, their passion, what makes them happy, and how to create sort of a life plan around that so they can start to walk forward towards that. So I love my job. I love what I do. I love my clients. And I'm just so grateful to have found my own passion and a way that I can light people up and have it be a business. So I feel very excited.
I love that. I love how you take your passion and you're able to use that passion in so many ways. So how do you find those people? And when you do, how do you have those conversations? How does that start?
That's such a good question. Finding the people has really been word of mouth lately. So most of my clients are either people that I already know or people that know someone who knows me. And so they get referred to me. And because what I do is kind of unique. It's not really, I'm a certified professional coach. I'm a 10X business coach, as are you, which is how we met through Grant Cardone and being a 10X licensee, which is one of my favorite things. And I'm also a medical intuitive, which means that I study energy and subtle energy, our subtle energy body, which is our chakra system, which is a little bit of Eastern medicine, but it's understanding how our thoughts can create certain energies in our body that either can allow for circulation and a nice flow of energy, or it can get stuck. And when it gets stuck in certain spots in our body, we can experience disease and, problems with our health. And so it's understanding how those two are related and how we can get past those blocks so that our circulation and our energy can be flowing again in the way that it's meant to and supposed to. So yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been sort of getting certified and training in multiple disciplines, as I just mentioned, for the last 6 years. Prior to that, I was a commercial insurance underwriter. And then I also was an interior designer. I went back to school after 10 years of commercial insurance underwriting. And I went back to school and became an interior designer. And then after I struggled having my 2 children, I had a bunch of miscarriages. I had 5 miscarriages before my 2 kids. But once I was able to be successful, and that's a whole nother story. That's like, we could talk for a long time about that. But I was able to be successful in 2 pregnancies. And during my first, I had a challenge with nursing. And so I invented a product for nursing mothers. My design mind sitting on the sofa and nursing for so long was just needing something to do. And so I envisioned a product that I needed that didn't exist. And so I created it and ended up getting 2 patents on it. And then manufacturing it and distributing it for about 7 years. And then I ended up, we moved to Paris for a year. We did sort of a little family sabbatical. At the time, my kids were 7 and 8 years old. And we had been struggling in our 13-year marriage for about 6 or 7 years. And so when we arrived in Paris, about 2 months later, we decided to separate. And so we stayed together for the next 7 months and kind of worked on our marriage and worked on how we would unravel everything. And so when I came home in 2017, in July of 2017, I had multiple careers to choose from my past, but nothing really felt like it was in alignment with me at the time. And I didn't feel like I really had more to say, and I had evolved so much as a human that my roadmap with business became more about my learnings and the lessons that I've learned, and how can I share them in a way that is impactful and helpful to people, and also having the certifications. So I kind of went on that journey. So as I've been going on the journey, people have come to me. I've just been lucky at this point to just attract the right people at the right time through my evolution of my business. And I love my business. I love what I'm doing. And I just, I'm sort of a personal development junkie. I just can't get enough. I just want to keep evolving and learning and growing and achieving my own maximum potential. And so that's when, when the time is right, if something gets introduced to me, I might start a new certification or become a new mentor for another discipline that will help round out my offerings. Because I'm a holistic coach, really, and I work with the mind, body, and spirit. And so in order to kind of create a situation where we can honor all 3 parts of ourselves in everything that we do, in our personal life, our professional life, and in everything that we do. So that's really what, gets me excited. And now I'm evolving more from a marketing standpoint, and just my business has evolved now to the point where getting leads and, really actively going out and attracting people is what I'm focused on now. So we're in that process of evolution in the business.
And so from all of the things that you've been through in life and learning from those, getting certifications in those, and being the lifelong learner that you've become in all of the personal development. Those things have helped you take what you know and then translate that into courses and or content material, then to coach, whether it be in a group setting or a one-on-one setting, then to help other people take their pain, whatever that might be, and transform into the good of what they're going through. Because I know that, I mean, from children, you mentioned children, to adulthood. And I know just from the few years that I've known you, your business has evolved from a dating coach, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm even going to say trauma. You've done some trauma activity as well, relationship, which kind of goes with the dating, but you've done some cool stuff in the relationship field, which is pretty amazing in my opinion. And the work that you've been able to do around, the parenting, the divorce arena, from what you've been able to go through, and just hearing your testimony of being able to be in an unhappy situation, but to unravel a marriage after 7 years is a phenomenal. That to me is what makes you, or adds to the beauty that you have on the inside.
Thanks.
I don't know how many people can do or have done what you've done, but I think from that standpoint is so amazing and adds to the business that you've had in the dating world, the matchmaker part of what you do, because you've experienced such a, I want to call it beautiful, but if you can call a divorce beautiful, that was, your testimony is beautiful there. So, I know that today, you're working on a, perfect divorce playbook. Do you want to share a little bit about what you're doing there and how your business is moving into a direction? Ariane, I'll step back a step and say, in some of my podcasts, I have mentioned to individuals who have wanted to start a business, but they're so afraid to start a business because they think they have to have everything from A to Z, or A to Z, as some people call it, in perfect alignment. And you, just like me, have started a business and did that for a while. And you're like, now I want to move into this direction. And it's morphed into growth. And there may be aspects of our business that we've dropped off and started new things, because it's led to personal growth. It's led to professional growth. It's led to even financial growth. And we're calling it, because of the Grant Cardone world that we're familiar with, it's the scaling part of our business, because it's growing and morphing into something so big, because we're reaching more people now, and we're seeing we're seeing that we're cultivating something much bigger, and we're impacting more lives with what we're doing. And I think that that's what, I'm getting chill bumps here, but I think that that's the direction that you're moving into now, with where you're headed. And I would love to hear you talk about this playbook. And I'm not going through a divorce. I'm fixing to celebrate my 40th year anniversary coming up here in the very near future. Here in July will be 39 years. And so next year will be the 40th year anniversary for us. And so, which is very exciting. You don't hear a lot of marriages going on that long anymore, but
it's true.
I want to read your book just because I'm so interested in you, but share with us the work that you're doing in this Perfect Divorce Playbook.
Yeah, I would love to. And thank you for all of that. Going back to my marriage, we were married for 13 years. And he really was my best friend and still is in many ways. And
more chill bumps.
We didn't have a bad marriage. That's the thing. We did not have a bad marriage. We barely fought. We kind of look at life very similarly. But there was something in me that was not being fed in the marriage. I felt a pull, a desire, something inside of me that could not come out inside of the marriage. There was something about he didn't totally understand me. I was a little bit of a mystery to him because I'm highly intuitive. And so I follow my intuition strongly. And in fact, I just co-authored a book called The Transformation Within, where I wrote a whole chapter. I included part of this and then my journey after the divorce, but about how to follow your intuition. And my chapter is called Following the Breadcrumbs, because it's like Hansel and Gretel, right? Like you see little breadcrumbs and you're just following it. You don't totally know where you're going, right? But you just have something inside of you. It's almost like it's your own homing device, right? Like your own inner GPS system that is guiding you. And for whatever reason, I knew I had more to become, and I couldn't do it inside of my marriage, which made me tragically sad, like so sad, because I'm like, this marriage, there's really nothing wrong with it. It's not really broken. There's something, but because my spirit couldn't evolve inside of the marriage, my spirit died inside of the marriage.
Wow.
And, I talked about self-love at the beginning of this conversation. And I started to realize that I wasn't loving myself, that I wasn't honoring myself, and that it had nothing to do with him. It's not his fault. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't anything. It was just the circumstances. He's not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. And we always knew that we weren't filling each other up in the ways that really made the most sense to us and really felt the best to us. And so we would talk about it. So for 7 years, they call it the 7-year itch, right? So we were at 6 years, actually. We started the 7-year itch at 6 years. And then for the next 7 years, we continued to itch and scratch and try to figure out like where it's coming from, and make it go away. But it didn't. And, at some point, I wanted to be happy. I want to be fully happy. I have so much inside of me to give and to share. And I did then. And because it was a little scary for him to have this wife who's got all the stuff that she has that she wants to do. And so he, kind of wanted to like put a lid on me a little bit, I don't want to say he like dimmed my light, because he did not do that, but he, my light might've been a little uncomfortable for him. And I recognize as my light gets brighter and stronger as I continue to go on, that my light is strong and it's bright. And sometimes people don't like that bright, strong light. It's like, And if they don't understand it, then it becomes even more of this awkward thing. And so anyways, it was extremely difficult. It's almost easier to get divorced from someone who you hate or you don't like, or who makes you angry, or who has cheated on you, or, who's a bad person, right? Like, it's easier to unravel the marriage in that circumstance. It's extremely hard to do it when there's really, most people would say, there's no reason to do that. You should not, you should just continue. And I should say that both of our parents, his parents and my parents, have been together for 50 years, over 50 years. My parents have been together for 54 years, and his parents the same. And so neither one of us came from a broken home, or, we didn't have that example. We had the example of this long-term marriage, which both of us thought we would do and we would have, but we didn't. And I think one of the hardest things for me to do was to tell my parents that we were getting divorced, because my dad once told me that the best decision I ever made was to marry my ex-husband.
Oh, wow.
So just imagine how he felt when I told him that I was not going to continue. And
goodness.
Yeah. So it was challenging, but I knew in my heart of hearts it was the right thing to do, because I wasn't able to give him what he needed, and he wasn't able to give me what I needed authentically and genuinely. And I can detect disingenuousness and inauthenticity. Like, it's just innate. It's like I have this energetic
radar. You've got this great radar.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's only gotten better because I got a Master of Intuition Medicine, which is learning about intuition. And in fact, we have 16 senses more than the 5 that we are aware of.
Wow.
Aristotle is the one who told us that we only have 5 senses, all of the physical senses, the taste, hear, smell, touch, see. And so that 6th sense, when you dig down deeper into it and you understand it a little bit more, there's actually 16 other senses that we have that are subtle energy senses, like clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, deja vu, synchronicity, knowing, remote viewing, telepathy. Like, all of these are other senses that we all have access to. And yet some of us have stronger senses than others in certain categories. Like, I'm not very good at remote viewing, but my synchronicity is on point. Like, things just come into my world when I need them, at the time that I need them, in the perfect divine timing. And it just takes that awareness, right, of understanding, like, oh, this person is here. Like, I was just thinking about them and I need this for my business. And so all of a sudden I see them at the coffee shop, and it's like, that is a breadcrumb. That's a breadcrumb. That is a little sign to you that to pay attention, that there are other things happening in your life to help guide you on this path in life. And when you look at life like that, it becomes super exciting. It becomes like an adventure. Like, I wake up every day and I'm like, what synchronicity are we going to have today? What's going to happen today? So, very long answer to your question, but
I love it.
I am writing a book right now. I'm in the midst of it. Hopefully it will be out very soon, but it's called The Paris Agreement. And the Paris Agreement is basically my story of an amicable divorce, and our experience when we were in Paris, when we decided, some of the backstory, some of the things that we did during the time that we were there. And one of my highlights of the story, it's one of my favorite things that we did as a family, is we ended our year in Europe doing the Camino de Santiago de Compostela as a family, which is a pilgrimage that St. James took many, hundreds of years ago. And it's in Spain. And in order to be considered an official pilgrim, you have to walk over 100 kilometers in however amount of time. So my 7-year-old and 8-year-old walked 118 kilometers in 6 days. Like my daughter, who was 7 at the time, walked over 20 miles in one day, which just blew my mind. But the reason we did this is because we took that 7 months of discussing. We worked with a therapist to talk about, how to responsibly and consciously unravel our relationship in the kindest, most loving way, most honorable way. How do we tell our children? How do we do these things? So we told our kids about 2 days before we went on the Camino, and we did it, and we called it our divorce-a-moon. So instead of a honeymoon, it was our divorce-a-moon. And we did it as a conscious thing for our family so that we had over 100 kilometers to walk together as a family where we can process, where we can talk about it, we can yell, we can share. Not that anyone yelled, but
right.
We can
but
share.
If you wanted to, you could have.
Exactly, because we're in the middle of forests a lot of the time, and you're just meandering through the countryside of Spain and getting to this one town to complete the Camino. And that experience alone was so powerful because it really honored our marriage in a way that gave us all an opportunity to talk about it and to be present with what was happening. When I came back from Paris in July of 2017, and I started to take a course, I was actually driving up to Lake Tahoe, and where my parents lived at the time, because I wasn't sure which of my past professions I wanted to follow at that point. And I didn't really know that I was going to become a coach. I had no idea what I was going to do with myself now that I had to, really work full time again. And so I drive up to Lake Tahoe and I'm thinking about it. What can I do? What can I do? And I'm alone in the car. And all of a sudden I hear life coach, like loud life coach. And I responded to it. I said, life coach? I don't even know any life coaches. That's what I said to the voice in the car when I was by myself. And so then I started to research, coaching schools. I found the one that was perfect for me, which is IPEC, which I think I'm a little bit, I don't know. I love IPEC. I think IPEC is like the Harvard of coaching schools, and it's a year-long program, and it's in person and online, and lots of peer coaching and training. And it's the best of the best of the best. So you leave there like knowing what to do as a coach, whereas a lot of coaching programs don't give you that. They kind of teach you what a coach does and what a coach is, but then you don't really get that training and that exposure to it. So anyways, at first I was thinking that my niche would be divorced couples, that would be where I would go with my coaching. And then I realized that I had a hard time with that, with the energy of that, with like looking for people who were in this turmoil of their lives, where they're really just in pain. And at the time that was uncomfortable for me. I didn't want to focus my life on that. I didn't want to focus on that. And that's when I decided to become a love coach. I wanted to focus on the love, because you can find the love in divorce. You can find the love in grief. You can find love in loss, find the love in failure. So like, it's not just romantic love. Like, how do you find a loving partner? I later became a matchmaker where I was helping people find a loving partner. But to me, the most important thing to do in life, in every situation, is find the love, because it's there. Find the love in conflict, find the love in, in hate even.
Yes.
Because it's there.
Yes. Wow.
So I am working on this book, but then I realized like this book is neat. People will probably enjoy reading it and, just the experience. But I really want to give people like action, like an actionable, something that they can actually do in their marriage. So whether it's either before a divorce, during a divorce, or after a divorce, this book will help everyone. And I think that just even reading the book for someone like you who said that the word divorce doesn't even enter your marriage, which I really love. You can still learn about a relationship and how to strengthen a relationship, how to keep the passion alive, how to do things to honor your significant other. So really at any stage of marriage or divorce, this playbook will be applicable. And so I'm creating it. So there will be some videos that will go along with it. And then there will be a workbook where you can do exercises, some journaling, some, just some things to think about. I'll also have scripts in the book, like some suggested words to say and to use with your significant other, with your children, how to talk about some of these difficult things, how to open the conversation, and how to be honest with yourself. Because I think that's the hardest part, is to like actually accept it, to actually be like, okay, this is not serving me. Something has to change. And it's scary. Right. It's like, it's really scary to, especially in a divorce, like it's scary to completely uproot your entire life and change,
right.
But when you do that, when you start to walk your path, as you start to walk on the way appears. That's what my favorite Rumi quote is as you start to walk on the way appears. So, and living in San Francisco, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. We have Carl the Fog, who's like its own personality here. So like, I like thinking about the fog in San Francisco because sometimes you can't see, 5 feet in front of you. You can only see one step at a time. And so you just keep walking one step at a time. And as you start to walk on the way appears. And so that's the same with the breadcrumbs idea. And when you're following your heart and your intuition, and just knowing that I just know that even if I fail or things don't work out for me, there's no such thing as failure. There really isn't. It's all lessons, right? Everything is a lesson.
Right.
And so I heard something this morning about Lauryn Hill, the musician, who was saying she doesn't like to look at it as failures. She likes to look at it as when you've mastered something, you're at the top of the hill. And then when you go down into the valley, you are starting the learning process over again. And you get the opportunity to go back up and start climbing up that hill, that mountain again. And so once you go up, so it's a series of learning lessons and then mastering and learning and mastering.
I love that. Yes.
I love that too. Just that visual. I was really impressed by that.
Yes.
So,
I used to say, I want to just inject one thing here. I've always had this saying, even myself, no and failure is not in my dictionary. There may be challenges, but failure is not in my dictionary. So
Agreed.
I love that you've added that into this today.
I totally agree with that.
Beautiful.
Totally agree. Because sometimes like that failure, that thing that you didn't expect to happen is actually working out better in your favor for what's coming ahead. That might be the fodder, the fertilizer, that's going to lay the groundwork for like this amazing redwood tree that's going to sprout, versus maybe a little bush that would have sprouted before. But now it's got all this fertile soil and all this experience and all of this life that's there ready to be seeded and to nurture it and to grow it and to develop it into something that is more in alignment with who we are, more powerful, more applicable to more people. Maybe our focus was too narrow at the beginning, and now it needs to be wider to help more people. Because I truly believe this is, you know, sort of my thought is that I believe we're here on this earth, that we all have unique gifts and talents. And we are here on this earth to discover our own personal, unique gifts and talents. We are charged with nurturing them, with identifying them, nurturing them, and developing them, and then sharing them with the world. We are given these talents to share, not to hold on to, not to keep to ourselves, you know, but to actually share these things. So I feel like, you know, if people want to know, like, what's the meaning of life, or, you know, why are we here? That's my response to it, is that we need to identify what our own unique gifts and talents are, nurture and develop them so that we can share them with the world.
I love that. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. I've taken so many notes during this podcast.
Fun.
It is. It is. You know, and it even takes me back to where you said, you know, I personally want to read this when you get this done, because you never know who I'm going to meet who needs this playbook, this course that you are creating. Because, you know, I'm doing one-on-ones, I'm building relationships, I'm networking, I'm meeting people all the time. I would love nothing more than to be able to maybe even save a relationship with your work.
Yes.
I mean, that would mean the world to me. Not long ago, I was able to meet with someone and to have a conversation with them and share a book on trauma, just because I was familiar with, I'll call it a playbook, because it was put together very similar to what you're talking about. It was prayers. And at the end of the prayers, it was someone who had been sexually abused. Yeah. And it was their life, what they had been through as they had been sexually abused. And at the end of each chapter of their testimony, if you will, and their prayers, then it had a series of questions that you worked through if you had been through trauma. And I was able to share that book. And since then, I have been given 14 of those books now to physically give out as I meet people to share those books. So, you know, who knows, but what I may be able to do the same with your book. And I have also met someone who is writing a book for Amazon Kindle, who is doing something very similar with trauma, but she's writing poems. And I had shared with her something similar and recommended that with those poems that she create questions and turn that into or add that to her book, and then create a Facebook group and work through that book with groups of individuals that are going through trauma. And so you just never know who you're going to meet and have conversations with. So I love what you're doing. To me, it's not only coaching, but to me, it's a ministry as well. So I love what you're doing. So what's next for Ariane and Hugs and Honey? Do you have something that's coming up after you get this published?
Yeah, I do. So I'm working on something which will probably happen sooner than the Perfect Divorce Playbook and the Paris Agreement. I've created a membership group, which is called Light Me Up. And it's focusing on personal, professional, and financial development. And so we're covering everything in this group. And it's, like I said, it's a monthly subscription, and it's group coaching we will have a list of, like a book list of books that we will be studying and following, and also just recommended books that I think are amazing. And we will, each month we'll have a different topic. So 1 month will be personal, 1 month will be professional, and 1 month will be financial. And we'll be meeting once a week on a group Zoom, and then there will be accountability there. And then I'll also be pushing. I'll be pushing people to really, become their best selves in whatever category they need to and wherever they need help. But they will have a community that is supportive and is present and is focused on the same things, and who can understand, we can understand each other. There will be like a little bit of a mastermind element to it where, everyone has their own expertise. Everyone has their gift, right? That everyone has a gift and a talent. So I want them to share it.
Yes.
So that's really important to me, that people feel heard, that people feel seen. I think one of the most important things that we can do for someone, actually, this is in coaching. This is like the number one thing that you get taught in coaching. The best coaches are the ones that can acknowledge and validate. Mm-hmm. Acknowledge and validate. That's it. It's like people, when they feel heard, they just want to talk. Like most people don't have the time anymore to listen. Mm-hmm. Right? So like and that energy is bottled up inside of your body. If you don't speak it, if you don't let it out, and that's that can become a fifth chakra of a problem with the throat. Maybe you stutter. Maybe you, do something with your throat a lot. Mm-hmm. If you have something that needs to come up and out of your body to be spoken, you might have something going on with your throat, a sore throat, a stutter, a little cough, whatever. And so it's just a really good indicator to think about, am I suppressing anything inside of me? Is there something inside of me that needs to come out and be spoken? Mm-hmm. And when they do, just that acknowledgement, that validation is so important. Even just the release of that energy can be all that someone needs. Mm-hmm. Like you don't even have to fix it. You don't even have to do anything. You just need to be sacred witness to someone's truth, mm-hmm. and to, mm-hmm. Be there to allow them to express and to hear. I mean, we're all humans. I mean, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. We're spirit. Mm-hmm. We're electromagnetic beings. Mm-hmm. And so we can all understand each other on a certain level. And so that spirit to spirit communication is very important.
You made me think when you're talking about the noise, the cough, the clearing of the throat could be a sickness. It could be something that needs to be corrected medically. But the thing that comes to mind is a stress, a worry. I'm around someone now that I'm noticing as a situation has arisen. I'm hearing an old pattern returning, and I think it's a stress. Mm-hmm. And so I'm asking questions, and we cover those things up. We act like things are okay when we know things aren't okay. But that's a sign. To me, that's a sign that there's something there.
Yes, 100%. 100%, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
And so those are, those to me, those are some of the very first signs that things are there.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. And then just being a confidant, being someone that someone can feel safe to share something with. I think mm-hmm. for me, it's a huge privilege. Mm-hmm. It's a privilege for people to feel safe mm-hmm. to share their deepest, darkest. I mean, people tell me in the line at the grocery store things that they've never even spoken out loud before. and they say it, they're like, I've never even thought that before. I don't know why I just said that to you. You're a complete stranger. And I'm in the checkout line at the grocery store. Yeah, that's when
like,
I knew that
why.
that's when I knew I found my calling, because, that happens to me all the time. And I honor that. I really do. I honor it. And it's not easy to do, because we all have our own lives and our own agendas, and everyone's busy, and we're all kind of running around. And so with all of the distractions in life, it's hard to kind of just stay present and just focus on one thing. It doesn't feel big enough. It feels like we always need to be doing something. And we don't.
People are looking for an ear. People are looking for an ear. They want to be heard.
Yeah.
They want to feel loved.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. And it heals. It's so healing to our soul, to our spirit, to our body, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. It's just really healing. It really is. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I'm learning to slow down and take that time to listen more, talk less.
It's hard. It can be hard, but I like to think about it like a steak. Like if you're cooking a steak, for example, and it's on the fire, the grill or whatever, and then you take it off, and it needs to just, you cover it with tin foil for 5 minutes so that the juices can kind of come back in to the steak. And so that time, that is just 5 minutes, of resting. But that steak will be a totally different steak if you just take it straight from the grill and cut into it. All the juices are going to go on your plate, and they're not going to be staying in the meat. But if you let it sit and let reabsorb it, you could just get a better outcome. So I think about that a lot. I think about like, let's just rest. Like there is value in the rest, in the nothing, in the just being. And that's when our intuition speaks to us too, right? Because the rest of the world is so loud. It speaks so loudly. It yells, right? Like it yells to get our attention.
Yes.
And our intuition, the small voice inside of us, our gut instinct, that thing that we have inside that's our own internal compass, it whispers. And so we have to get quiet for it. Whether that be in meditation, whether that be in prayer, whether that be just in quiet stillness, that is when we receive the divine messaging.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, Ariane, as we come to our close, share with our audience today, if they want to reach out and have a conversation with you, where can they reach you? How can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on a lot of different places. So my email address there's multiple email addresses. One of them is hugsxhoney@gmail.com. That's one of them. Ariane Olshansky @gmail.com is the other, but also Facebook, Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all of those social media platforms because, like Grant says, it's my duty and responsibility and my obligation to make sure that people know that I'm here.
That's
and that
right.
This is
Be
what
omnipresent.
I do. Right. And so the work, us getting together right now on a podcast where we're collaborating and we're sharing audiences. Right. And so you mentioned that you would be able to share some of the information from this conversation with people that might need it. And there's no way we would be able to do that if we didn't have this platform, right, of podcasting and of, just promoting ourselves. So yes, I love that, that we've learned from Grant. One of our biggest and most important things that we have learned is that it's our duty, responsibility, and obligation. To let people know that we're here.
Absolutely. One other place I thought of is Alignable. You are also on Alignable.
I am. And I actually need to sort of give it some love Going back to love, I need to give Alignable more love because it's a relatively new platform.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
and
it is.
so I just wasn't exactly sure how to interact with it, but I really like it. And and I know that you've experienced great success from being on it. So I am following your lead, my friend.
Yes, yes. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to look back in my notes here just real quick because I learned this morning there was a term that when I was in the leadership meeting this morning from Alignable has a love language, which I thought you would love to hear.
Yes.
In fact, he said every platform has its own love language. And I thought that was so valuable. And he said, learn the love language of each platform. And the love language of Alignable is water cooler talk. I loved that. Yeah. So think of you and your friends going to the water cooler and having a conversation. And so that's the type of business talk to have on Alignable. And that's what people are thriving for there. And I'm going to share this tip. He said that he has been on Alignable only 3 months and doing massive amounts of business there, Ariane, because he learned quickly the love language of the water cooler. And he said that the value that is being used on Alignable is, I'm going to have to go back to my note taker notes to get that. And I apologize. I don't have it readily available right now.
It's okay.
But it was so much, it was a professional. It was more of a professional value than the water cooler. And as you and I have had this conversation, people are thriving to have a personal conversation about their business, their story, share about themselves. It's not necessarily about the professional conversations. They want to be heard, they want to be loved, and they want to feel valued. So it's the water cooler conversation that people are thriving for, and that is on Alignable.
Sounds like that's my place.
It is.
Those are my people.
Those are your people. And so he even shared and I will send this to you after this call.
Thank you.
The link. He shared a link this morning of a post that he put on that has 700 comments. And he gave it as an example, one of his very first posts that he posted. And it was so simple. You're just like, wow. And awesome. It will show you how people are just wanting to have a simple conversation. The water cooler.
Yeah. They want connection.
They want connection. I mean, and that's all it is connection.
Yeah.
And
especially after COVID, right? Like after that, like people want community. They want connection. They want to be heard. They want to find,
they're just begging somebody listen to me. Yeah. Somebody listen to me and somebody love me. That's all it is. And honestly, it truly is. It is your people. It's my people. It's your people.
I'll love them. I'll listen.
Yeah. It is your people. It truly is your people. You and I need to have a conversation offline outside of this podcast and get a plan because it is our people.
Perfect.
And so with that, this has been a great conversation and I appreciate you being here with me today. I truly believe anybody that's looking for love in all the right places would truly love you and love your business. So I look forward to your playbook. I look forward to hearing more about your membership. And we will put all of your audiences in the show notes, Ariane, so people can find you there. And for those of you in the audience, I too have a free Facebook group. It's called Influence and Growth Mastery, the same as this podcast. So if you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner and would like to join a free group, please join us there. It is not as active as it should be, but that is going to change very rapidly. My personal coach and I are working on a strategy now. So until the next episode, I look forward to you having a great week. I having a great week. I am leaving for vacation Thursday morning, and I will see you next week. Have a great day, and I love you all. See you soon. Bye.